Welcome to Goal's preview of the 2018 World Cup quarterfinals. We're going to run through each of the four matches one by one, starting with France versus Uruguay, which is the one I'm looking forward to most. Some star attackers in that lineup. We've got the likes of Kylian Mbappe, who had an incredible last 16 match against Argentina. Star of the round, arguably. Antoine Griezmann as well. He's having a decent tournament so far.
France have got a lot of options, haven't they?
Yeah.
Let's face it, that's probably where they're slightly different to Uruguay in that respect. And in fact, I fancy them to go through from this one.
Yeah?
Yeah, because, and I'll probably come back to it again with some of the other ties, they are a team that have got a plan B, essentially.
Yeah.
They can bring people off the bench and change the game up quite dramatically.
Yeah.
I think that's important because we've noticed in this World Cup a lot of teams will just set up in a certain way, won't they?
Yeah.
And that's how they'll go out to win a game. And even though I don't think apart from the last game against Argentina, we've probably not seen the best from France so far, have we really?
No, they hadn't really lit up the group stage. They sort of squeezed a little bit past Denmark, past Peru, past Denmark. Denmark was the last one. What was the first one? Australia.
Australia was a poor match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Given the talent they've got.
Yeah, but they did light up the last 16. They were fantastic against Argentina. A little bit shaky in defence. Conceding 3 goals, not exactly ideal, really.
Yeah.
For me, on the opposite side of the fence, I really fancy Uruguay. I'm a massive rater of that team. I think the likes of Cavani, Suarez, Godin, Jimenez, Bentancur in midfield is a real young star in the making.
Yeah.
I'm a massive rater of the coach as well, Oscar Tabarez. He's been there for 12 years now at the helm of Uruguay. He's obviously oversaw their 2010 campaign when they got to the semi-finals. And I think he could do it again. It's definitely the biggest test for them because so far they had a pretty simple group stage against Russia, Saudi Arabia and Egypt. They won all 3 matches. But they proved they were a top team in a real test against Portugal. Obviously won the Euros 2 years ago. Knocked out Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Potentially ended his chances of winning the World Cup. That might be his last World Cup. It's
true,
at this point.
And Portugal, one of those teams that they set up in a way to, they manage to grind out the results, don't they? They proved that at the Euros. So yeah, that was an impressive game for Uruguay to be able to do that. I see where you're coming from, but I don't know why. But I just feel like France will edge them in this.
On paper, they've got more talent. I'm not disputing that. The whole squad is incredible. From Fekir, Thauvans had a brilliant season. Dembele, those players are barely getting an edge in the first team. But they have Kante and Pogba in midfield, 2 quality Premier League centre midfielders.
Yeah.
It's hard to dispute the talent there, but they've won once in 8 matches against Uruguay, which is what I look at and I think Uruguay have that mental edge on them.
It is, yeah. And Uruguay beat them in a friendly, didn't they, as well? A few years ago as well. So maybe
it could definitely go either way for me. But I'm sort of edging a bit towards Uruguay at this point. It's definitely the tie of the round though.
The other thing for me is I said France at the start of the tournament as well, expecting them to be better than they have been. So I am going to stick with them and say they'll go through. So that's played a factor in it for me, even though we haven't really seen the best of them yet, I don't think.
Alright, so 1 on each on that side then. You go for France,
I'll
go for Uruguay.
Yeah, which works.
The next match is probably the tie round for a lot of you guys who have been watching the World Cup. Brazil against Belgium. Brazil probably the favourites in this tournament now, aren't they?
Yeah, I would have thought so. They've been quite well disciplined, haven't they, for a South American team or a flair team that you would say. Winning games just 2-0, seeing out matches. In their last match again, it was another 2-0, and we didn't see amazing goals from them. They were literally just getting to the byline, crossing it over, and tapping it in. It wasn't the kind of Brazil that we always expect with wonderful long range shots and bits of skill. So
it's more reminiscent of the '94 team when they won the World Cup that year, and they ditched the flair. They just went for it with the players they had. They didn't go obviously the heart of that team, and it does feel more like that team than it did 4 years ago when it was essentially just Neymar plus. And they were the host nation, and they sort of rode that wave a little bit into the last 4, then got dispatched by Germany. It doesn't feel like we're going to have another one of those.
No.
But Belgium will be a real test for them. To this point, they haven't really. Again, they had a relatively simple group.
Yeah.
Switzerland, Serbia, and Costa Rica. After a bit of a scare in the first match where they drew Switzerland, they did manage to top that group and pretty comfortable against Mexico, to be honest.
They were in the end, and Mexico were looking like one of the teams that a lot of people fancied to go quite far, and they ended up disposing of them quite easily. I just think this will be, like you say, more of a defensive test for them against Belgium because Belgium have got a lot more going forward. So
It's 2 teams that have on good unbeaten streaks. So Brazil unbeaten in 15 matches, Belgium unbeaten in 23 matches.
23 games now.
Which is something, isn't
it is, yeah. Because my head's telling me that this is like Brazil are going to win this. But then when you think that Belgium haven't lost in 23 matches, that's a frightening stat, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Roberto Martinez has done a good job of that team. I think what will be key, though, is if they go out of this quarter-final stage this time, is that the end of the gold generation? Is that the sort of tail end of that generation of Belgian players who've broken into the Premier League, who've had a really good career? I mean, it's got to be Kompany's last World Cup. He's on his last legs as it is at the moment.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
You'd think De Bruyne has another in him and Hazard, but you know, a lot of these players, the sort of stars of that Belgian team are at their peak now. And this is really the year where, if it's going to happen for them, it could be this year.
Yeah, and it probably should be. And again, like I was saying about France, I think Belgium have got a plan B, and they proved it against Japan. They were 2-0 down. I feel like if England went 2-0 down against anyone, that's game over. Martinez makes some changes. Fellaini came on. You know, they scored. They turned the game around. It's remarkable. That was a remarkable comeback in a World Cup match.
I thought they were gone. When Japan scored that second goal, I knew he smashed it in from 25 yards out. I thought it's going to be hard to turn it around from this point. But he did make the subs, as you said. He brought Fellaini on. They completely changed the game. Set pieces, there's some great set pieces. Yeah,
they'll have to defend better than that against Brazil as well. You can't allow Brazil shots like that from outside the area, because they will score those as well.
Neymar, Coutinho loves shots from distance.
Exactly, yeah.
He's already scored a couple.
They know where the goal is. But again, like I said about France, they've got Giroud up front. That gives them an option when they want to float it into the box. Belgium bring on Fellaini. They've also got a lot of height in there already with people like Lukaku. They've got players who are great with the ball at their feet, De Bruyne, Hazard. So they've got a lot of Belgium. For me, it just falls into that category of, you've got the teams who are experienced winners and get quite far against the teams like your England and your Belgium, who, no matter how good England have been in the past and how good the talent has been, it's a real kind of mental challenge to get through to that next stage, get through to the semi-finals, get through to the finals. I think Belgium have got to prove that they can do this time, even though they've got all this talent.
It'll be a massive turning point if they win. It'll be revelation in a sense, because they've never got that far. I don't think they've got to the semis in a World Cup before. Whereas Brazil, for them it's relatively traditional to get to the semis, and they're looking for revenge after 4 years ago, after the humiliation to Germany. I fancy Brazil in this one. What about you?
Oh, I don't know. This is the one I couldn't really decide on. I'll go Belgium then.
You go Belgium, just to be
because for me it's going to be a very close one.
It's definitely an interesting tie. I don't think it'll be a high scoring one. I think it'll be a match team. It's because these are two unbeaten teams at the end of the day, and I think that both of them will be a little bit worried about the attacking talent on the other side. I think we're going to see quite a reserved performance, and it'll be, the difference will be who takes those big chances when they come to them. Whether it's Neymar, whether it's Lukaku, who is good at taking the big chances. He has had a good tournament so far. Scored 4 goals. In the group stage. So it's tough to call, but
Belgium have scored 12 goals so far in this tournament.
They've had
that's crazy, isn't it?
They did have like England, they had a happy group. Against Panama and Tunisia, but that's not to do any disservice to their attack. They've
still got to put them away, haven't you?
Exactly.
That's the thing. They have been. So they've got a bit of momentum from the Japan game. They had that second half comeback. That'll be a great tie.
I think probably the least appealing tie for many neutrals out there, not for us, but for many neutrals, will be Sweden-England. It's hard not to be subjective about this, because I think we're fresh off a euphoric penalty shootout win, the first England's ever had in a World Cup match, at least. Obviously, they won a penalty shootout against Spain in the Euros in '96, but in a World Cup, it's never happened. 3 defeats out of 3, and it was just bizarre for me sitting as a fan. To see us win a penalty shootout for once. Bizarre but brilliant,
Yeah, it was. It felt like that moment wasn't going to ever come, really. And certainly when Colombia scored at the end of the match there, right at the death, that felt like it was the nail in the coffin. They seemed to have all the momentum. The crowd, the fans, who were like 80% of the stadium, were right behind them. So if it didn't come in extra time, I was expecting them to win on penalties.
Yeah, I was very surprised. But it comes back to what you said with Belgium as well. I think it could potentially be a massive momentum boost for England. They hadn't necessarily had the greatest of group stages. They did come second after resting players. They weren't... Panama was a real smash, like winning by 5 goals. But other than that, Tunisia, they had to get a late winner to beat them. And obviously the match against Colombia wasn't really something to write home about. It wasn't a brilliant performance.
No.
Few players other than Pickford came away with their reputations enhanced. But just the ending is enough to propel you on for the rest of the tournament, I think.
Yeah, I think so. We haven't seen England put in a full kind of 60 minutes good performance yet, though, in any match really. I mean, maybe the Panama game to a degree, although they kind of let them slip back into it a little bit towards the end because obviously they were winning by so many. It was a great start against Tunisia. That was the England we wanted to see because they were spraying the ball around, they looked confident, and that's kind of what Southgate's been promising. He promised it against Colombia, but it wasn't quite there. There was a lot of passing the ball around at the back. As soon as it got over the halfway line, it was quite nervy. It ended up back. The centre-backs have been great. I think they've looked a lot calmer than any other defensive kind of like formation England have had before, on the ball anyway. Having those wide options with, you like spraying it out to Trippier and him getting down the line, it's great, it gives them an outlet, but it's just not quite been there still for me.
No, it hasn't quite clicked, has it?
No, but if we win corners, we score goals.
Yeah, just need a few corners. Trippier can lick them in.
Either we score from a header from a corner or someone brings someone down in the penalty area.
Yeah.
So
Kane scored 6 goals from 6 shots on target so far this World Cup, which is impressive.
Yeah.
He's clinical, isn't he?
He is. Yeah.
I don't think I can remember a striker in such good form for England, really, for a long, long time anyway. And every time he has the ball at his feet, certainly from 12 yards, it looks like he's going to score. When it's on his head from corners, he really has been brilliant so far. So hopefully he can keep that up. But Sweden will be a really tough test because they've knocked out Germany in the group stage. They knocked out the Italians in the playoff to reach the World Cup, and they also knocked out the Dutch in the group stage for the qualification for the 2018 World Cup. So they've got some real pedigree this side, even though they've lost the star in Zlatan Ibrahimovic. This isn't a team that is got here by fluke. They've not had an easy draw. They've forced their way here at the expense of much stronger, more renowned teams, really.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think they're going to struggle to the extent that necessarily Sweden will walk over them, but I think it'll be a real test.
Yeah, it will. It'll be a tough match, and it's essentially they're like a championship team of Sweden. They just set up so strong. They know exactly what to do. Defensively, they're quite strong, and then from what we've seen so far in the tournament, they've just scored a few goals on the counter. So it depends whether England will get drawn a little bit too far forward and get caught out of the back, maybe by a long ball through the middle or something like that, which we've seen them score. We saw them score it against Germany. Yeah. The rest of Sweden's goals have been quite fortuitous, really. They've been deflections and things like that, but they haven't looked brilliant. But like I say, they're just so kind of well set up. I think England are going to really struggle because England aren't the most creative. They don't have players who necessarily unlock defences.
What I can see happening in this game, and I think we'll come on to the last game as well, and that will be a similar phenomenon in a sense, will be because they managed to rest those players in that last game. Yeah. Everyone looks at the last 16 matches and they looked at what happened with Croatia and England, who rested players for the last group game because they were already through, and they said, resting players hasn't necessarily worked for them. If anything, I think that's looking at it completely the wrong way, because you aren't resting players for your last 16 match. You're resting players for the quarter-final, for the semi-final, for the final. Because games are coming at essentially a pace of 1 every 4 days. And that is where that extra rest is really going to come in handy. Whereas Sweden, who had to play their full team for every single group stage game, because they were on 3 points, was it? Heading into the last game against Mexico, they needed to win to qualify. And they managed that. But, they did that at the cost of playing their first team relentlessly through the group stage. And I think that might be where England have the edge heading into this quarterfinal.
Yeah, I mean, if it does come down to players being fatigued, which I'm not sure... Having not ever been a professional football player, I'm not sure how much that really plays into. Yeah. These guys are athletes, but I'd imagine it does have a bit of an effect, especially when you're playing a game like Sweden are playing, where they're just trying to pick everyone up, they're pressing, trying to make it really uncomfortable for the opposition on the ball. That could probably take its toll. But England have just played another game that's gone into 120 minutes or whatever. So yeah. That looked exhausting. Did that game? Yeah. It felt exhausting watching it.
Yeah. I always feel like when they go into extra time, it's pointless now, because it's just people sort of really tired, running around for 30 minutes, not really wanting to make any mistakes and not really taking any risks. They don't want to be that guy who cost the team before they got to a penalty shootout.
It's very rare it's settled in extra time, isn't it?
Yeah.
They should just maybe add 10 minutes on at the end, and then just go straight to pens.
I'd just go straight to pens. I'd be like, come on lads, let's have enough. I don't think we should do this anymore. Let's go straight to pens. Let's get this out of the way.
Definitely.
And I think that's what I'd do. But yeah, I mean, you're right. They did play an extra 30 minutes. I think it'll be interesting to see what effect that does have and what changes Southgate will make. Sterling was a little bit ineffective, I would say. Yeah. And whether it's just because he was roughly handled by some of the Colombia players, let's say, Mina trying to ride him like a donkey at one point.
Yeah.
Like he did with Kane, or was it Sanchez that did with
I'd be
Kane?
tempted to bring Rashford in as well, maybe.
I'd like that.
Start him.
I was impressed with Loftus-Cheek when he's played as well.
Yeah.
Every time I've seen him.
Definitely, yeah. He's been a man mountain for England in the games he's played. So, you could. Why not mix it up and then and then bring some surprises off the bench? Yeah. I mean, having Sterling off the bench is amazing because no one wants to face his pace after
when you're tired.
60 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Probably makes more sense to have him on the bench, really.
I think so. What do you reckon for the result?
The result, it's just been draws every time we played them, hasn't it? You know?
Yeah, 2 World Cup
2006, it was 2-2 when Joe Cole scored that amazing goal. I think they scored quite late in that game. I might be wrong about that, but
2002, 2006, which were both years when we played against Sweden in the World Cup.
Yeah.
I am going to edge towards England. I do think that even if I wasn't, an England fan, I can't hide that. I still think that they should be able to beat that team. They have a better team on paper. They have more talent in that side. They're so good from set pieces. Like as you say, give them corners and we'll get a few goals.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of penalties so far throughout the tournament. Kane is clinical as anything in those situations. He steps up. Unlike almost any England penalty taker I can remember, you're certain he's going to score.
Yeah, he's so calm, isn't he?
Yeah. When we used to watch Lampard or Gerrard step up, you're just like, oh God, no, not again.
Yeah.
But you don't really get that impression with Kane.
No, you don't. Technically, he's just a phenomenon.
Yeah.
He does always put it away. You don't feel as nervous when he's taking. Obviously, he's going to miss one at some point, but you don't feel as nervous when he takes them. It's he's an outstanding player.
What are you saying there, Sweden?
But I'm going to go Sweden because
really,
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I love England to progress, but we have a real habit of messing these games up. I would say it's probably like 2-1 to Sweden. They'll score a goal quite late on. It'll look like it's going to be a draw, and then they'll just nick it, just to break all our hearts.
Maybe. I guess if you're going to be pessimistic, then at least when the best happens, you can be happily surprised.
Exactly, that's the way I've approached life.
The last game, the last quarter-final that's going to be taking place will be between Russia and Croatia. So the host nation stunned Spain, who were definitely the favourites on this side of the draw, to reach the quarter-finals. And you were in Russia for the group stage. And I think it's fair to say, isn't it, the public didn't expect a lot from this team.
No, they didn't. I think, the English, they're quite sceptical as well, of their national team. I mean, they've got more reason to be sceptical as well. They had no right to do anything at the World Cup, really. But I wasn't one of those that ever thought, write them off because of the on-field talent, because if you're hosting a World Cup and you've got a whole nation behind you, it just carries you. And we've seen that in this tournament so far, haven't we?
They never would have beaten Spain if it wasn't for the fact they were the host nation, I don't think.
No.
I mean, the amount of passes they had, they broke records for the amount of passes they had in that game. Yes, Spain weren't really very clinical, but it felt like they had an extra few men on the pitch simply by virtue of that home crowd and that home support, and especially in the penalty shootout. I think by the time it got to the penalties, you thought Spain should have won this, but now it's all Brazil's. De Gea didn't have a great tournament up to that point. I think he only made one save in the entirety of the tournament, and part of that is because Spain are so dominant in possession, they don't give a lot of chances away. But still, he made that one big mistake that everyone remembers against Portugal. And Akinfeev just looked the more confident goalkeeper. He'd had a really good 120 minutes, and I can see Russia causing a bit of a surprise in this quarterfinal.
Yeah, although when we were looking at our stats before, they had one shot in the game against Spain on target, and one in the game before that. So they've had 2 shots on target in the last 2 games.
Wow, yeah.
So they're not creating a lot of Russia. Maybe at this stage in the tournament, that might find them out slightly. I mean,
maybe.
They shouldn't have got this far, really. So.
No, it's a freak to see them get this far. It's one of those matches where I look at it and think it's so hard to call, because really Croatia should win.
Yeah.
It's the tail end of a golden generation. They have the talents of Luka Modric, even Rakitic with Barcelona, Mario Mandzukic, Perisic. In defence, Lovren and Vida have had good seasons. Subasic in goal had a great penalty shootout against Denmark, which helped them get through to the quarterfinals after a pretty tepid performance against Denmark over 120 minutes. But it's the home nation, it's Russia. It's just so hard to think what that effect that will have on these Croatia players who haven't really impressed in recent major tournaments with this so-called golden generation.
No, they haven't. But yeah, they have. They've got the results in the games that matter in this World Cup. So it'd be mad if Russia got into the semi-finals.
It would be so weird. Imagine a Russia-England semi-final. Be a
little politically, it's already
be a tense one.
Yeah,
but
you've got to go with Croatia. You've got to imagine Croatia step up and win this game.
I am probably I mean, until this point, I couldn't decide what to go with. I'm probably going to edge towards Croatia.
Yeah.
Simply, I think you convinced me with that stat about 2 shots in 2 matches. If that's all you're creating, I didn't realise it was that low. But, it's hard to rule out Russia simply because of the host nation factor. I think they've had performances that no one really expected. I mean, Golovin been one of the breakout stars of the tournament. Juba, of all players, of all the strikers, is having a really good tournament for Russia. And the fans love him over there
Cheryshev as well.
Cheryshev,
he came on a substitute, didn't he, in the first game, and he's got 3 goals now, is it?
Yeah, he's one of the sort of lower, not even lower. I mean, Kane's running away with it, but he's certainly a Golden Boot candidate. He's a few goals away from catching up with Kane.
Yeah.
It's such an open tie simply by virtue of if Croatia had gone into this match having thrashed Denmark, I think everyone would be saying, "Oh, this is Croatia's.
Yeah.
They're in the back here. They'll be through." But simply because of what Russia did against Spain and the underwhelming performance Croatia had.
It could be another one of those games, couldn't it? Exactly that. Like you say, the Denmark match was they should have done better. They did have a lot of chances though. They did create chances. Croatia. They missed. They obviously missed a penalty. Modric missed a penalty as well. So they should have put that tie to bed a lot earlier. They just need to kind of produce against Russia. So it depends how they turn out on the day.
Yeah, totally. So you're going to go with Croatia?
Yeah, I'll go with Croatia.
We'll agree on that one then.
Yeah.
So you've gone for France, Uruguay. I've gone for Uruguay. You've gone for Belgium. Belgium. I've gone for Brazil. You've gone for Sweden, controversially in my opinion. Rather than England, I've gone for England, and we've both gone for Croatia in the final quarter-final against Russia.
Yeah.
And let us know in the comments section who you think will win the quarter-finals and who you think is going to win the 2018 World Cup in Russia. We want to hear from you.